It's precisely 6:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The Foreign Minister briefs Diplomatic Corps on current initiatives. State Pharmaceuticals Corporation says more than 50 million COVID vaccine doses have been brought to the country. A private university village will be built in Paduka area. Galle Harbour will be developed as a tourist port. Parliament is scheduled to meet from February 8th to 11th. And in world news, Japanese youth sue over cancer diagnosis following Fukushima nuclear disaster. And in sports news, dropped catchers hurt England as Australia take control of Test in Canberra. Now the local news in detail. Foreign Minister Professor J.L. Peris addressed the Diplomatic Corps at the Foreign Ministry Auditorium yesterday during the first diplomatic briefing for the new year. The objective of this briefing was to share information to progress related to human rights and reconciliation as part of the continued engagement ahead of the upcoming 49th session of the Human Rights Council, which will commence in the last week of February. Foreign Minister Peris said the government of Sri Lanka has undertaken substantial steps with a view to accountability, restorative justice and meaningful reconciliation, which were efforts due to the work of domestic institutions, and invited the heads of these institutions to brief on the tangible progress made. The minister was particularly pleased to inform that after 43 years, the Prevention of Terrorism Act is being amended with the objective of bringing it in line with international norms and best practices. The resident coordinator of the United Nations, Hannah Singer Hamdi, appreciated the work done by the relevant national institutions in the areas of transitional justice, achievement of the SDGs, and amendments to the PTA. The ambassador of Egypt, Maged Mosleh, highlighted the importance of the international community working with Sri Lanka to promote human rights and reconciliation, and observed the impressive achievements made by Sri Lanka in combating terrorism and dealing with its aftermath. State Pharmaceuticals Corporation says that more than 50 million COVID vaccine doses have been brought to the country. The value of the vaccines is 77 billion rupees. 40 million of vaccine doses have been purchased by the government. General Manager Dinusha Dasanayaka said the remaining quantity has been received as donations. A private university village will be established. 123 acres have been bought by the Mahapola Trust Fund to set up the village at a cost of 350 million rupees. Director of the fund, P. Bandara, said the revenue will be credited to the Mahapola Trust Fund. He said higher educational institutions of several foreign countries have expressed their willingness to invest in the university village. Galle Harbour will be developed as a tourist port. A new breakwater is scheduled to be built at the harbour. Minister Rohita Begunawardena said it will add 40 hectares of land to the port. This was disclosed during discussion over Zoom technology yesterday in Colombo with a group of foreign investors on developing the harbour. Secretary-General of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayaka said Parliament is scheduled to convene from February 8th to 11th. He said the decision was taken at the Committee on Parliamentary Business held on January 21st. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has decided that there is no need for a power interruption from today until 31st January 2022. Accordingly, the Commission did not grant the permission for the proposal made by the Ceylon Electricity Board for scheduled power interruptions. Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Hiseki Mizukashi, on the eve of the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and Japan, yesterday paid a courtesy call on Commander of the Army General Shavendra Silva at the Army headquarters in Sri Jawadhanpura. During cordial interactions that ensued at the commander's office, both agreed that two countries are united by mutual understanding and shared values over the past 70 years. The ambassador expressed his happiness over the dedicated contribution of the armed forces in Sri Lanka in the control of COVID-19 pandemic and various other national development roles being supported by the army, inclusive of the most recent coordination roles for organic fertilizer production. He also told General Shavendra Silva that Japan will continue to remain engaged in discussions with Sri Lankan authorities with a view to further promoting bilateral assistance. General Shavendra Silva gratefully recalled Japan's medical support to the armed forces during difficult times and also the continuing technical support Japan has always extended as a true friend of the country. The first television channel launched by a local university will commence transmission on the 2nd of next month. Aesthetic University in Colombo will launch the channel named WAPA on that day. The channel can be watched through POTV channel 123. Measurement Units, Standards and Services Department says fixing of meters on three-wheelers will commence from the 1st of next month. According to the regulations, department's approval should be obtained before importation, production or fixing the meters. Director of the department, S.N. Akuranatilaka, said permission will be given to sell or fix meters only to institutions that have obtained prior approval. With that, we conclude the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Health Ministry said today 249 more patients have recovered from COVID-19 infection within last 24 hours. This brings the number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country to 577,030. Meanwhile, 13,786 patients are being treated in the country at present. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight, Department of Examination said candidates who have not received their GCE Advanced Level Examination admission card yet can download it via www.donets.lk/exam. It said admission cards for school candidates have been sent to the relevant schools while the admission forms of private candidates have been posted to the applicants' private addresses. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
The headlines of the World News. Japanese youth sue over cancer diagnosis following Fukushima nuclear disaster. New Zealand inflation tops 3-decade high. Australia scientists find spooky spinning object in Milky Way. Now the world news in detail. 6 young Japanese people are suing the operator of the Fukushima nuclear plant after developing thyroid cancer in the years following the 2011 nuclear disaster. The plaintiff, aged between 6 and 16 at the time of the disaster, say they got cancer from radiation exposure. Their lawyer said all of them underwent surgery to remove parts or all of their thyroid glands. New Zealand's annual inflation rate topped a 3-decade high at the end of last year, official figures show. The Consumer's Price Index rose by 5.9% for the last 3 months of 2021, the fastest rate since mid-1990. That was higher than expected and makes it almost certain that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand will take further steps to curb rising living costs. Australian scientists say they have discovered an unknown spinning object in the Milky Way that they claim is unlike anything seen before. The object, first discovered by university students, has been observed to release a huge burst of radio energy for a full minute every 18 minutes. Objects that pulse energy in the universe are often documented, but researchers say something that turns on for a minute is highly unusual. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. Japanese youth sue over cancer diagnosis following Fukushima nuclear disaster. New Zealand inflation tops 3-decade high. Australia scientists find spooky spinning object in Milky Way. With that, we conclude the World News.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take coal out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
State Minister Dr. Nalaka Godaheva says the first phase of developing 100 cities will be completed by March. Plans have been made to add another 50 cities to the program. According to the Vistas of Prosperity policy statement, 4 municipal council areas and 9 national towns will also be developed. That was Development News.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
In sports news, first let's take a look at cricket. Missed chances hurt England as Australia took control of the crucial Ashes test on day 1 in Canberra. After being dropped on 14, Australia captain Meg Lanning hit 93 and opener Rachel Haynes also put down 44, made 86 to stay Australia to 327 for 7. The hosts had been in trouble at 4-2 and later 43 for 3 after England made an excellent start with the ball. Taking a look at tennis, Ashley Barty became the first home player to reach the Australian Open Women's Singles final in 42 years as she beat Madison Keys in straight sets on a jubilant Rod Laver Arena. Wimbledon champion Barty won 6-1, 6-3 against the unseeded American. Now she is one win away from becoming the first Australian man or woman to win the singles since Christine Wonnell won the title in 1978. Taking a look at Formula One, Singapore has signed a new contract with Formula One to hold its Grand Prix for at least the next 7 years. The event in the Southeast Asian city-state has become one of F1's most high-profile events since it made its debut on the calendar in 2008. That was Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
NDB Investment Bank celebrated a momentous year of capital raisings in 2021, advising on a record-breaking 75 billion rupees in capital market transactions, including nearly 50 billion rupees via debt capital markets, 22 billion rupees in public and private equity transactions, and a host of M&A transactions valued at 3 billion rupees. NDBIB acted as financial advisor to record 5 public equity offerings raising nearly 8 billion rupees, the largest number of transactions among local investment banks. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic News. courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The electronic and electrical sector has recorded a 30% increase in its export earnings compared to $328 million recorded last year, despite COVID pandemic challenges. With the support extended by the Sri Lanka Export Development Board, the industry has shown its resilience in 2021 to achieve the highest export revenue recorded in history despite COVID pandemic challenges. The sector targets to reach $1 billion of exports by 2025. That was Economic News.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Weather Report.
Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times over the sea areas of the coast extending from Potterville to Mannar via Batticaloa, Trincomalee and Kankasanthore. Showers or thunder showers will occur elsewhere during the evening or night. That was the Weather Report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The Foreign Minister briefs diplomatic corps on current initiatives. State Pharmaceuticals Corporation says more than 50 million COVID vaccine doses have been brought to the country. A private university village will be built in Paduka area. Galle Harbour will be developed as a tourist port. Parliament is scheduled to meet from February 8th to 11th. With that, we conclude the news.